The teachers who run your school know what is done well and what needs to get even better.
In October 2004, Ofsted inspectors wrote a letter to the children of Lady Barnes School in Manchester. The school had just been through a new style inspection. It was the first time pupils had received a letter like this.
What you think could make better and works to make the changes happen.
I liked a bit how when you do it and what you liked most about the school.
What did you think about the fact that they wrote a letter to the children? Was it a good idea or a bad idea?
I thought it was a very good idea.
Why was it a good idea?
Because you're letting the children and the parents and the teachers know how good the school is and all that.
When it says you work very hard for your teachers and they do their best to help you learn.
And were you pleased that you had a letter like that to take home?
Yeah.
Why were you pleased?
Because now I know that people appreciate what we do.
When they said what we liked about your school the most, because they're complimenting our school, saying that it's really nice.
And do you think they've got it right? Is it a good school?
Yeah, I love coming here.
Lady Barn is a 1.5 form entry primary in Manchester. Last October's inspection, which lasted just 2 days, was a pilot for the new system which begins in September. This film looks back at that process. Lisa Vias has been head teacher for 7 years. She's experienced both the old-style inspections and this new, more narrowly focused version, with inspectors giving just 48 hours notice.
The fact that it was short notice really improved things in terms of we felt the inspectors saw us as we really were, and we felt it was an accurate evaluation of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Right, everyone, are you ready? Yeah. Right, look up at Miss Wells. Remember, all of these words have got a long vowel sound in them, so we're looking for A, E, I, O and U words. So when I hold one up...
The key to the new inspections is self-evaluation. Before the inspectors came, the school had to fill in a self-evaluation form, being as honest as possible about its strengths and weaknesses.
Sophie. Taylor, tail. Leanne. To get all that at the beginning.
A spray.
Brilliant, good girl. Long A sound. A spray. Hera.
In the new system, only a few teachers are actually observed. The inspector's primary purpose is to make sure the school's self-assessment is accurate. Janet Swales was observed by the inspectors.
The new style inspections are much less intensive because I only had one lesson observation. It was more stressful, that one lesson observation, because I was representing my whole team. But in the old style Ofsted, I was observed every day over a 5-day period, and so that meant that the stress went on for longer.
But would you worry that the new system is maybe less rigorous than the old one?
No, I thought it was more rigorous, and because of the interviews that we had, because the senior management team had an interview, we'd done our self-evaluation form, and then I had quite a thorough interview again over my subject areas, and it seemed to me that they were really checking that the management of the school knew what they were doing, and then they're prepared to give that ownership over to the school.
The lead inspector for the pilot was Clive Kempton. We asked him to return to Manchester to see what the school made of the experience.
It's trying to get at what we've come to call the central nervous system of a school. What makes a school tick? Are the people in posts of responsibility in this school, are they able to know its strengths and weaknesses? Are they able to affect improvement in this school?
The new inspections will take place every 3 years instead of 6. and inspectors are encouraged to adopt the approach they feel best suits the school.
We don't inspect the whole school like we did in previous inspections where we turn over every stone. This time we focus on the issues, and the issues we get from all the pre-inspection scrutiny of all the self-evaluation form, the previous inspection report, all the data available to us. Hello, thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, Lisa, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
A lovely sunny day.
In this case, Clive decided to do joint observations with Lisa.
Talking about observation, I mean, when I was in, you and I did some classroom observations together. I mean, how did that feel weird, or do you think that was a good thing to do?
I think that was a really good thing to do, because I think I've been left alone in terms of how to do an observation in the past, and it was good to test out my judgments and see whether somebody else agreed with them. So it gave a bit of validation to what I was doing.
So it sort of affirmed your judgment.
And then also to see how somebody else feeds back.
Right.
So it was a bit of an opportunity for me as well.
Good.
The new style Ofsted reports are very short. Lady Barnes was just 6 pages. One of the issues highlighted was the provision for gifted and talented children. The inspectors found that the most able pupils were not being sufficiently challenged. Today, Clive wants to see if that's changed. He's visiting a mixed ability Year 5 and 6 art class, and he's keen to see the lesson from the point of view of the more able pupils.
I have drawn lines between my shapes, but I've continued it to the very edge of the paper. So altogether I've got about 15 sections. There were 3 pieces I didn't use. The pieces you don't use, that's where you're going to try your colours out in your sketchbook.
Immediately you can get some idea of the behaviour of the class when you look at the children.
Why am I not going to put the nose next to the eyes and the mouth underneath the nose? Sam?
Because it will make the face again.
It will make the face again. Yeah.
Do you have to do it when you're sticking them on? Do you have to put it in a square? Because it's cubic.
Because you're going to need your scissors, your glue, both your portraits and your A3 pages.
Put a certain amount of structure into it already.
That's right.
Which is what sometimes I think with some art lessons they don't tend to have. And that's where people go wrong, because they have this idea, don't they, that it has to be all open-ended and expressive. And
Absolutely. The transition, they've moved into this next stage.
Yeah.
Now, how do you judge that transition from the explanation to the activity? Has it moved in smoothly? Are they messing about? Yeah, it's smooth. Do you get the impression that the children know what they've got to do?
Yeah, because they're getting on straight away, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah. So one of my
There's not much fussing or anything.
No. So I think the next thing I'd want to do is to find out from the youngsters whether they understand what they've got to do. Abstract portraits. Right, now, what does that mean, abstract portraits?
Like little pieces of a picture in different places.
All right, well, they're not in the right place anymore?
No.
OK.
That there.
All right. So it won't look like a face anymore, though, will it?
No.
So was there sort of some famous artists that used to do this? Picasso. All right, he used to do this, did he? And have you looked at any pictures of Picasso that Picasso did?
What I'd like to do now is, if you look at mine, I've only stuck a few pieces on. Using the black pens we used yesterday to do the outlines is to start putting on these division lines. Now, you might need to make it so it doesn't truly follow the shape. So you might want to make a straight line here, even though my shape isn't straight.
They know what they're doing, don't they?
Yeah. But it's important that they're doing it in the style of an artist rather than copying off a piece of work by an artist.
That's right, which is very... because sometimes you go in and see endless pictures of...
Walter, Monet and...
Monet, that's right.
Yeah. Or the sunflowers is a common one, isn't it? Yeah.
OK, so we're picking up so far a positive picture of this lesson.
And also the fact that they're quite happy to take risks by the fact that they're cutting them all up very differently.
7 steps on there, make sure you've done all of them.
The objective is to create an abstract style portrait. It's an activity, isn't it? These are all a series of activities. So I suppose the question that I have at the moment is, whilst that is a learning objective, it's quite more like an aim, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is it specific enough? By the end of this lesson, the children will be able to.
Yeah. It needs to be more skill focused.
That's right. Yeah. It needs to be more skill focused. That's exactly it. So, I mean, is she focusing on pastel mixing?
Yeah.
Is she focusing on a specific thing about line or tone or colour?
Yeah.
So that's where I suppose we come back to.
Whereas it seemed to me that she was actually bringing all those skills that she'd done in previous lessons together.
Yeah, that's right.
And but then I'm focusing on the end product as opposed to maybe thinking about the additional skill that the children have picked up.
That's right. That's right. I've just been watching, Mary, how you've been doing with this.
Look at yours. You're doing yours with warm colours.
And you've put that on as a block of colour, haven't you? But you're using your finger. Why are you using your finger?
Smudge it in.
To smudge it in. Right. What difference does it make when you smudge it in, as you say?
It makes it dark and blend into the face.
Right. Okay, good. Then, how did you learn how to do that? Did the teacher say? Right. So, did you have a whole lesson on learning how to smudge paint? It was just something. So you see how within an observation, in a sense, you hone down your judgments increasingly more and more. But in the end, it's about what additional skill, artistic skills have these children got, and are the children who have particular talents, have they been extended a bit further, or are they getting the same as everybody else?
I think that they're being given the opportunity to take it to their own level, aren't they?
Yeah.
But within a framework.
Yeah.
And I suppose the actual pastel work is that further opportunity for those artistic to excel, isn't it? Whereas the ones who are less able artistically will probably do much more of a colour each square in
an activity.
Yeah, so I think that's where the open-ended extension bit comes in, I would say, with the pastel bit, really, rather than with the sticking and cutting bit.
Okay, so when we get onto the pastels then, what might you expect the teacher to be doing with the identified more able artists as regards pastels, use of pastel mixing?
Giving them further guidance on how to create different effects using the pastels, rather than leaving them to take it to their own level themselves.
No, I'm talking about what's on your paper. Is it cool? Is it warm? Pardon? You may.
It's some high quality stuff going on here, isn't it? I mean, it's a big difference from the stuff that I saw last time.
Yeah. I was involved as a head teacher a lot more during the inspection. For example, I did classroom observations with the inspectors. I did work scrutiny with the inspectors. So I had that level of involvement, but also I had lots and lots of occasions when different people on the team wanted to interview me about different aspects of the school. And because that number of interviews was condensed into 2 days, well, actually 1.5 days, it felt much more intense. But I have to say that it was the best professional development experience I've had in the whole time I've been a head teacher.
Inspectors have always talked to children, but the new system places a greater emphasis on their opinions of the school. In its report, the inspectors found that everyone in this school, including pupils, feels involved in decision-making.
Now, I'm very interested in because you're all in school council. How do you get to be in school council? Do you just say, I want to be in school council, and you turn up?
No. Because
you get voted.
And you had to tick the name that you wanted to go into school council.
But there was more to it than that. There was something about a manifesto, wasn't there? Can you remember what your manifesto was?
To improve the class 5 and 6 toilets.
Class 5 and 6 toilets, right?
You know the new playground at the tarmac?
I do, yes.
It used to be a muddy field, and we said we need to change this, so it's been turned into a new playground.
So, I mean, if you say the toilets aren't good enough in year 5 and 6, or we want to change the playground, I mean, if you say that, who do you say it to?
Well, in each class is a suggestion box.
But then
They put it in the box.
But then who says, yes, we will do that? Mrs. Beer.
The inspectors described the school's nursery as exciting and vibrant.
Do you think yellow would be my colour?
What are you doing?
What colour are you going to wear?
You're doing.
You're going to wear some green ones? What colour are you going to wear? You're going to wear some pink ones? How about that?
Hello.
Our overall sense was that the head had got it dead right. The head knew what the quality of teaching was like in this school. And so we didn't actually have to observe many lessons to be able to see that the head had an accurate picture of teaching in this school.
If the head's judgment is right, is that the end of the issue?
No, because if the head has judged that there are aspects of weak teaching, then part of the leadership and management decision or judgment would be about what that head teacher's doing in that particular circumstance.
And then we've got different targets for each group. So this group just over there, and they're focusing on small details to enhance and describe the character and setting. That sounds very similar.
Duncan Barnett is used to being observed by his colleagues. He wasn't seen by the inspectors and has mixed feelings about that.
Kind of feel a little bit, have they noticed that I'm doing a good job, etc., and you want the validation for that. But on the other hand, of course, I thought, well, they haven't been in, few in a little bit of a sense, you know. I think generally the idea that there's less observations and more observations by the management over time is a better way of assessing whether I'm a good teacher or not, rather than if one lesson, it could just be a terrible lesson, and then I'd be gutted about that, do you know what I mean?
The new system grades 4 key areas: overall effectiveness, achievement and standards, quality of provision, and leadership and management. The school did well, getting mostly grade 2s, the equivalent of good. Ofsted's verdict proves similar to the school's own in its self-evaluation form.
Schools are very good at describing their school, but what we want is a lot more than that. We want a lot more sense of evaluation, not only able to describe what happens, but also the quality of it. So a school's ability to be able to self-evaluate well will hold them in very good stead. Getting better? Yeah. What about you, James?
One new issue which did come up was marking. Clive found that the children didn't understand many of their teachers' comments. He wants to see if that's changed.
In your literacy book, can you find for me a piece of work which you are very proud of? A piece of work which you think, this is a piece of work which I think I did very well at. Right, let's have a look at these. Right, now, Paige, you tell me about this piece of work.
I was writing a story about First Affair, and I thought it was really good because there wasn't that many things what I've done wrong in it.
The teacher has put an I.
For independent.
Independent, what does that mean?
It means that I've worked on my own.
Right, so you did this piece of work on your own without any help from anybody. And let me just focus on this first bit. Do you read me that bit again?
Great effort to speech and
repetition.
And repetition for affecting your writing.
What does that mean?
I think it means I've tried my best, and I've done well with my speech.
What do you mean speech?
Because Miss Mina always says not to use too much speech. Otherwise you might end up making it sound boring.
Okay. Right, so she's saying you're using a great effort to use speech, right? And what about this, repetition? What does that mean?
Repetition. I don't know.
It's a bit harder, that one, isn't it? It's quite a long word. Right. Repetition means when you do something again and again. OK, and the teacher's here written things as well in comment about your work. What she said here?
Great paragraphs and good vocabulary.
OK, so what do we mean by paragraphs?
Like, it's not just in one piece, like one big paragraph. You split it up into 3 paragraphs and it makes it more easier to read.
Right, and you've like you say, you've got 3 paragraphs there. Well done. And what does this mean? Good vocabulary.
Good speech marks.
Good speech marks. Does that mean anything else? Vocabulary. A bit harder on that one, isn't it? Vocabulary. Vocabulary means the words that you're using, really, and the range of words that you're using.
It reminded me so much of the last session that we did when you were here doing the inspection, because exactly the same issues came up in terms of the teacher's use of vocabulary.
Yeah, and an assumption, I suppose,
yes,
that children of all abilities can actually understand what's written there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good way of remembering whose is whose, isn't it? Which are they're your shoes, are they? They're very nice shoes, those are. Those are your shoes.
Oh, wow.
You have just 2 days in a school. Is that really enough to get a measure of what's going on?
Yes, I think so. I think there's that sense of being able to sense things immediately and delving down under the surface you can confirm those initial views. So yes, it is good enough. It's different and it requires a different type of scrutiny by inspectors. We have to be a lot quicker, a lot sharper, a lot more efficient with our use of time.
Lady Barn was last inspected by Ofsted in 1999, when Lisa was also head teacher. How does she feel the new inspection compared?
The previous inspection tried to look at absolutely every aspect of the school over the 4 days, and therefore I feel at times lacked depth, whereas this inspection was definitely much more about sharper focus, more depth.
Another key area for the inspectors was the provision for vulnerable children. It was uncertain whether they would approve of the extra emphasis the school was placing on emotional literacy.
What sort of emotions do we feel about the changes that you've mentioned? Things like your family changing, your body's changing, you're moving to high school, moving to different classes, things like that. See if you can come up with one word, an emotion for how you feel.
You might feel anger, you might feel lonely because your parents might not be spending a lot of time with you. You might be like rejected.
Then when you get used to the person, then those feelings might change, might be more positive.
You might feel a bit upset because, like, your family's, you've had a good family and you've had a lot of fun things, and then suddenly one day your family just split up, like your mum and dad or whatever.
What else changes? Like body, because we're going taller and everything, puberty.
The inspector's verdict was positive.
Sometimes that development of the emotional literacy is very important for these youngsters to be able to go out into the world and take their place within the world. And sometimes it's harder for those children to get that type of emotional support at home or outside school. So by providing that inside school really helps them with their other work.
Just let it go and you can feel lots of space around you. And now we're going to tighten up our shoulders, so all our shoulders are really tight round our neck, okay? Everything's so tight, and we're just going to let it go on the next out-breath. Oh, and every time we breathe out, it's like we're sinking further into the floor. And you're just going to notice these.
The inspectors also saw the school's quiet room, where massage and relaxation is on offer.
Maybe some animals in your garden.
It might have proved too innovative. In fact, they thought it worked well. Clive's also keen to hear what the parents thought of the letter written to the children.
When the report came out with the parents saying, oh, you know, it's a really good school, or it had a good report, or what were they saying on the school gates?
Yeah, it was a good view because everybody was like happy for what was going on. Yeah. And you actually...
I'm glad my child goes
there,
so kind of thing, you know, yeah.
Proud that it's actually a good school.
Yeah.
I think the children are proud of the school themselves,
they're proud of themselves, aren't they?
Did that help, you think, then, writing that letter to them to make them more proud of the school?
I think so, yeah. It kind of just gives them more of a pat on the back than, you know...
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
That's
it's
right.
like you've been doing well and you still are, and that just kind of says so. Because you do get told by the teachers, don't they? So...
Yeah, we have visitors quite often, don't we? So they like to show off and be proud.
A letter's all very well when it's got good things to say, but what about when there are some hard, more negative messages to get across?
I think there's bound to be harder to write that letter, but I still think that it's possible to write that letter, because school, children, people are always aware when there is a problem. I think schools are worried if we're going to say the quality of leadership is bad or is unsatisfactory or inadequate. I think we'd find ways of writing that in a language that wouldn't point fingers at certain people, but perhaps to say that the education provided by the school could be a lot better.
The inspector's report singled out the school's leadership and management, awarding it a rare Grade 1 outstanding.
Who remembers when we had the Ofsted inspectors come to visit our school? Well, he's come back to visit us again because he enjoyed himself so much the first time. And so
above all, the school's central nervous system, as Clive calls it, remains its great strength.
Oh dear! What a mess! We definitely need to sort this out. It's ruining our school!
I think leadership and management in this school impacts at all levels. You see lunchtime supervisors being empowered, you see teaching assistants being empowered, you see children being empowered.
There are some people who don't care.
And this notion that everyone has this opportunity to contribute makes the leadership and management a very strong aspect of the school.
From September, all future Ofsted inspections will take a similar form. Schools can expect just 2 days' notice of the inspector's arrival.